Would help if I turned my microphone on, right? Morning, afternoon, evening, nighttime. I don't know. We've got so many different time zones that listen to the show. Welcome back. I'm here, just about. I'm here looking queer. I'm not looking queer, but it rhymes, right? So we've got new music. We've been getting more music sorted out. I see some people in the chat room already like the music now. Be sure and tell Joe Joseph this at the weekend, folks, because, you know, he really gives me some grief about the tunes on the KBS live stream. How are you all doing? I am struggling to wake up today. Wow. It's one of those days, right? If I didn't know any better, I'd actually say it feels like a Monday. It truly does. That's why we were a bit later starting today. Anne's on night shift, so everybody's body clock's kind of shifted a little bit. I'm already a nocturnal kind of creature. I'm up till all hours of the morning, and I could not get up today. Just could not get up. So I'm here for this just now. I'm hopefully going to be live on TFR later. But on days like this, I usually try and listen to the body. And sometimes it says, Kev, come on. You know, you're already doing about 7 days a week. You're doing about 14, 15 shows. It is okay to take the odd show or the odd day off now and again. I've got to be really careful with that. So if I do end up rebroadcasting later, then you all know the reason why. So filtering into the chat room, no order. I'm just going to read what's on the screen, because this is what's cool about this stream, right? This is where we can really hang out together. I've got some headlines, but I'll get some stories off of you as well. And I was looking in the chat room earlier on. Who the hell is Magenta Pink? I'm going to have to check out who Magenta Pink is, right? Because everyone was talking about it in the chat room. I don't know what it is. I don't know who it is. I don't know what he, she, it, they, him, her. I don't know what we're talking about here. But it was something somebody asked in the chat room. What's going on with Magenta Pink? So we're going to look at that one raw today on the stream. I've got news about the weather. I'm in Britain. Deal with it. We always moan about the weather, right? Don't worry about the fact we've seen what real weather looked like when we had Hurricane Dorian just there a few days ago. Feels like a few weeks already. Time flying. But the UK, yeah, I'll get into that as time goes on today. And then last night, I had on a new guest on the show, Debbie Elliott. We were talking about transhumanism, living forever. Synchronistically, found a story about that today. We've also got loads and loads of dumb criminal stuff. Absolutely. And even somebody having the audacity, the outright cheek to try and steal somebody's sheep. Yes, all that on the way. But before I get here, let me welcome to the chat room. We've got Zanny. We've got my good friend Armand. Valley Parks is in there. One of the main mods. Kristen. We've got Empyrean. Great to see you again, my good friend. Paul from Newcastle. Now, Paul from Newcastle, for anyone outside of the UK, Paul would have an even cooler accent than I've got. We've got my friend here in the East End of Glasgow. Far too close for comfort. I'm only joking. We've got Legend. We have Brandy, Polk, Nothing As It Seems, Disho, Dead. Dead, I've got one of your stories for today. Some Brazilian daft criminal. We've got the Tree Mistress sneaking in there. I like that. We have Jorge Rubio. I like that. Probably just George Rubio. I don't know, but Jorge sounds good. We have King Sweet. Yes, indeed. Gordon M in there. Ad hominem. I like that name. That's a cool one. Do like that. We also have Louisa. Louisa, I sent out your Discord invite just before coming on air. We've had a few people from the chat room already reaching out for that. Listen, don't expect to come to the Discord and it's already going to be like lively and flying and full of links already. We're all starting from scratch. And the idea is that even when the Kev Baker show isn't on here, to give all of you a chance out there to continue to make these connections that we're making in the chat. Dare I say it, build some friendships. We can then all jump over there 24/7 at any hour of the day. It's always going to be open. And there's going to be no Google. There's going to be no Zuckerberg. There'll be no Jack Dorsey hanging about to tell you what you can and can't say. How good does that sound? And then to take it on a step further, there's even voice chat rooms that we can have as well. From time to time, there's going to be big stories breaking. It's going to be all hands to the pump. People are going to be wanting to know, trying to figure out what's happening. And just think, instead of doing that on your own, you're going to have like your own team of fellow researchers in there to pull information from. You see how it could really be an invaluable tool. So if you want to join that, and yesterday I believe I put a spelling mistake in there. It wasn't a mistake, it was actually like some spycraft. Anyone who was clever enough to notice the mistake definitely got an invite. I'm only joking, folks. I'm only joking. But if you want to join, all you need to do is send me your YouTube name, send me your Discord name, which is a name followed by hashtag 4 digits. And then that way I'll send you an invite, and we know who everyone is. It's not that I'm going to be selling any data, folks. I'm only wanting your YouTube name and your Discord name. I don't even think any companies would buy that. So don't worry about anything untoward going on there. It's just so that we know who in YouTube is the same person over in Discord. Discord servers have a habit of being infiltrated, infected, taken over. And that's what we're trying to add a layer of kind of security. At least we know who we're talking to. That's the whole point of it anyway. So let me just scroll down. I've seen Nanny Granny in there as well. Amanda, David Peacock, Running Turtle. I believe Running Turtle, I think they got their invite yesterday. I see Dilly in there, Diligent. So yeah, loads of people filing in. And Julie West, there it is again, Julie West. Can you tell me about this Magenta Pixie woman in the UK? Well, I can, because we're going to look together. I've got no idea who Magenta Pixie is, but I think for Magenta Pixie, I think we really need some tunes on, don't you think? We need some kind of... I'm just going by the name. It sounds like it could be a funny one. Shall we do it? Shall we take a look? This is going to be one of those things I'm either going to love it or hate it, anyway. So, Julie, before we go and look at who Magenta Pixie is, can you tell us in the chat room how she came to your attention, why it is she's on your mind today, just so I get some kind of context, you know? Is her name blowing up on Twitter? Has something happened to her? So yeah, well, let's just kind of figure out what's going on here before we dive into it. Yes. And while I'm waiting for that, look what's coming to the UK, folks. I can't believe it. This is horrendous. Brits urged to prepare homes for the worst winter in decades. Now, let me just also preface this by saying this time of year, us Brits are always moaning about the winter that's coming up. Now, 9 times out of 10, never turns out as bad as they say it's going to. So, fingers crossed, it doesn't this time either. But by all accounts, and I've even looked at Weather Action 1, and that's somebody called Piers Corbyn. And he's Jeremy Corbyn's brother, actually. You know, Jeremy Corbyn leads the Labour Party. His brother, he is a meteorologist and he does long-term forecasting. And it would appear that this winter is going to get pretty horrendous here. So while we're waiting to see how Magenta Pink has come to the attention of the KBS chat room, let me just tell people what they're saying is going to happen here at the winter. I really don't need clown music for the weather report, do I? Maybe I do. It says British people have been urged to prepare their homes amid fears one of the worst winters in 30 years lies ahead. Freezing Arctic conditions. Well, you very rarely find that you get roasting Arctic conditions. I think just Arctic conditions pretty much paints the picture, don't you think? But hey, we're Brits. We need to really hype up the fear, right? Freezing Arctic conditions are expected to send temperatures plunging to their lowest in decades. You see, this is what happens. This is what happens when it turns winter. But I've seen something in the chat room there. It's from Julie. Leak Project had a guy on who was going nuts about her Magenta. Right, okay. You've probably lost me at Leak Project. We're still going to check her out, but I'm thinking this is probably a character that maybe Unirock would be taking a look at. Just off the top of my head, though. Again, I'm prejudging. Pesky toxic male that I am. So yeah, it says here, climate experts. Climate experts, indeed. At University College London have predicted the extreme weather over the next 4 months after studying current sea temperatures and a North Atlantic weather system. They believe that it could be colder than the beast from the east. Oh no, which saw temperatures drop as low as -14 in the Cairngorms in Scotland last year. Now, I remember when I was in Norway, and I think with the wind chill factor, it was about -30 degrees. And when it got to -13, which it was always -13, that kind of scuppered the physical training, which I was always happy about. Absolutely always happy about. Just looking at the chat room, hang on. Yeah, somebody says, I know. I'm still dealing with this damn cough. It's a nightmare. Somebody said, leak project, just in it for the money. As my good friend Unirock would put that. Red pill to pay the bill. But we're going to do it. We're going to see if Magenta Pixie is on YouTube. She is. Now, I'm not going to make fun of this person. I promise myself I won't. I don't even know what she's all about. Let's take a look at what Magenta Pixie is. Okay, then. So we've got a channel there. We've got some of her stuff here. Upgraded 6D diamond light grid. I'm thinking new agey then, right? I'm thinking that. Not that I'm knocking that. See what it says.
In this transmission from the white-winged collective consciousness of 9, I, Magenta Pixie, bring forward information specific to utilising the rose gold flame as antidote to 5G, EMFs, chemicals, chemtrails, and...
She's saying we can, like, combat 5G with a candle? I'm out. I leave this one to Unirock. We looked at Magenta Pixie, and, you know, for the person, you know, just so I don't offend anyone out there, I will defer this over to my good friend Unirock. Anyone fighting 5G with candles, it's definitely not in my realm to be criticising nor critiquing, shall we say. So, not my kind of cup of tea. Listen, if you want to take on 5G with a candle in your hand, you have at it. I can't say it's going to bring you any layer of protection. I don't know. Who knows? I'm no expert in, like, flame retardant or flame protection. I don't even know what you'd call that, right? I don't know. And I see my good friend Sid sneaking into the chat. Sid from Norway. Over here in the UK, we're moaning, brother. We're moaning because it might hit -13 this year. And I was telling people in Norway, it was about -30 with the wind chill factor. And let me just tell you, Sid, that I've also taken a look at that Andoya Space Centre. It's very interesting. I've got a story to do with that towards the end of this show. But before we launch into more of this, and folks, if you want to check out more of Magenta Pixie, please feel free to look at our YouTube channel. I do believe there'll be lots of interesting material on there for your consideration. I don't really knock the whole new agey thing because I think a lot of the new age stuff, I think you could really connect with the quantum woo that I go into. So far from it for me to, you know, criticize somebody who's using different language perhaps to talk about the same science that I do. You know, go and check it out for yourself. It's not really my cup of tea, and by the looks of it, there's a bit of channeling and things going on in there. Channeling's cool, but it can only ever be taken at face value. You know, there's no real hard scientific way to prove that that is or isn't happening. Same as mediumship. And I'm sure some people are channeling something, but I'm also equally sure that more than most are probably just at it. But that's just an observation, okay? So Sid Vitch is saying, I'll be here. I want to listen to what you think. Yeah, I've got an article on how things at the Andoya are definitely stepping up. It's a place that I'd never heard of, but being a space buff or being being interested in space, I think I'm going to have to get interested in it. It's only, you know, just across the water from here. And it's doing a lot of work, a lot of sneaky beaky stuff as well. reading between the lines. Amanda says, yeah, Kev, it's just diluted with BS. A lot of it is, which I think is a shame, because a lot of the new age topics, a lot of the stuff that these kind of people talk about, I think are highly relevant. And I do think that they do help some people out there. So I'm not throwing the baby out with the bathwater, as they say, when it comes to channeling and all that stuff. But at the same time, you do see some hocus pocus. I mean, it wouldn't take long to go and find people channeling where you just wouldn't need to watch for 5 minutes to know they're at it. Okay? So yeah, cool. But a candle to fight 5G, who knows? Again, I can't sit here and say no, because I don't know the context. Maybe there's some frequency thing going on, or that's the idea. I don't know, okay? So, with that said, last night on the show, and I'm going to upload this show later on, right after I get off this little coffee stream with all of you good people out there, Debbie Elliott, and oh, bless her, she was really nervous to start with. I don't think she's done many radio shows, but I wasn't just like saying this on air for effect. I'm absolutely loving her book, and it's called Monkey Mind, Robot Body. And it's about AI, it's about transhumanism. And I managed to get through 84 pages before yesterday's show. And you know me, you must know me by now, folks. I always tell you I'm a bad reader, I'm a slow reader, love audiobooks. So for yours truly to get through 84 pages in a day, that shows you that it was a really interesting take. And it's like something you'd see in a sci-fi kind of TV series. That's how good it is. And we were talking about living forever. Now, all of you out there, King Sweet's smoking a placebo. So am I today, King. I'm devastated. So if anyone would like to contribute to the Kev Baker Marijuana Benevolent Fund, please feel free. You can do so with the PayPal link in the description, which would be instant gratification. Or you could have yourself a little membership and unlock all of the cool emojis. And I think we're still needing 4 new members to get the new emoji. The further you go up in the number of members, the higher the bar that they raise for you to unlock new emojis. So we're victims of our own success here, folks. Really, when you think about it. Anne's sitting in the background saying, yeah, she is not keen on having her shoe out there. I think it's the best emoji we've thought of yet, but you know. So, yeah, please, if you do want to support the stream, you can, but only if you're able to. Because if not, we're all still going to be here chatting and chilling and having a laugh anyway. Talking of chilling, it's going to get really chilly in the UK. I'm already scared. I really am already scared. So, King's having his placebo. I'm going to have my placebo very soon as well. But before we do that, we're going to shift gears now. We're really going to shift gears into this whole kind of away from the weather into living forever. And I want to ask you out there, if you were given the chance, is it something you would want to do? Augment yourself? Take some kind of technology? You know? Live to 150? 200? Beyond? Be honest. Tell me. We can all be honest here. I don't know if I'd do it personally. I don't know. I think life's long enough and hard enough as it is. But would you do it? Would you cheat death and go on forever? And there's a bit of a delay here, so I'll wait for the chat room to catch up. Armand, same here, brother. Armand says he would rather move on. So would I. I would rather move on. Says here, hey Anne, you are string woman dealing with this fool on the daily. Kev Baker, show her my message. I'm a delight to put up with daily, ain't I? She rolled her eyes there and just kind of made a noise. I would like to live with me. If I was a chick, I'd be all over me. Look at me. Cool, I've got the accent going on. I've got good stories to tell. Okay, you've got the same accent. My accent doesn't work with you, but I love long time. Sometimes I don't even charge $5. If I was a chick, I would love me, honestly. Like, hey, listen, if you can't love yourself, you know. Says here, we had a bloke turn up at the door yesterday evening asking for a donation to the Yeovil Old Age Pensioners Retirement Home. Reluctantly, we gave him grandmother. Oh no, Brass is back in the house. I said that as if it's a bad thing. It's only a bad thing because I've got a habit of reading out your jokes. I think they're really... And again, you got to laugh out of hand, so job done, right? But Sid makes a good point. Depends on the augments that are available. Well, see, this is the thing, right? In Debbie's book, she deals with being transferred into a 100% mechanical body. Now, Melissa Hanson, she says totally yes. Nothing as it seems. Fountain of Youth coming from... And then we come down there a bit. Let's see. Somebody talking about remote viewing. When I first was learning about remote viewing, I set up an experiment with my two daughters, ages 9 and 12. They both got 3 out of 3 targets. I was amazed. Pretty cool. Pretty cool. Don't be dropping links to your own channel in here, folks. The mods are going to... YouTube's automatically going to hold it, and then the mods are going to block it. Once the stream's done, drop it in. Amanda says, when my candle is out, it's out for good. I ain't coming back. And I think a lot of people will feel that way. I really do. I'm ready to go, says Running Turtle. It's all forward progress. I've always looked at it like level 2. You know, it doesn't come up game over. You move on to somewhere else. That's my thought anyway. Louisa, I don't have a problem with AI. It's just mathematics. It's like a mirror. It is what you are. Louisa, me and you would get on so well. That's where I'm at with AI. It's like the gun debate. You know, you've got people tell you rightly so that it's not the gun that's the problem. It's the person that's holding it. And I think it's exactly the same when it comes to these algorithms, this technology. So I'm with you there, Louisa. I can play both sides of the fence when I'm on the show because I like whoever the guest is to have their ideas put forth. So that's why some people say, but you're dead wishy-washy, Kev. You go here, you go there, you go back and forth. I'm telling you right now, I'm not anti-AI. That's how I feel. I do see, though, how it could be a huge problem. King says, I think the big concern would be that once you are digitally connected, somehow you may get hacked. Absolutely, man. Absolutely. David Bell says, if you could upgrade and live forever, then the rules of assisted suicide would have to change. See, there's a whole heap of kind of moral and ethical issues we'd have to, talk about here. And Melissa, the thought of endless happiness, love, and nirvana, and or just the opportunities available. You see, yeah, I see that as well. I do see that. I suppose it would depend how good they made it, right? I mean, if it was all milk and honey and everyone living that lifestyle we want to live, never a sick day, never a stress day, who wouldn't want that, right? Never losing family members, family just getting bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger over time. I don't know. I don't know. Pretty cool. Pretty cool. Running Turtle says, it's getting close to fall here in Wisconsin. I'll do what I can to help with the herbs, Kev. I wish I was over there, dude. I could definitely go some of your herbs today. It says, do you want rid of subscribers? I don't want any. Or how do you get rid of subscribers? I don't want any. Just don't post anything, persona non grata. I think people then will probably get the idea. And Nanny Granny, I'm hoping to see all my loved ones that have gone before me. So when it's time, I'll be ready. Well said. Valley says, you know any tweakers do it doggy style? Joke. Funny though. How would the Earth substance the population explosion? It's a very good point as well. There's a lot of stuff we would have to sort out first, right? A lot of stuff. And I think at that point, I think that's when you really have to make a case for going off-world, becoming interplanetary, going full woo, going to the Andoya Norwegian Space Centre and out of here. But there is technologies out there right now that they're working on to do this, folks. I shit you not. It's obvious, right? And here's some of the extreme tech that will help people live forever. some weird and wonderful contraptions in here. Just looking at this already, I'm freaked out because it looks like Miley Cyrus in like the Black Mirror episode she was in. And I pray she doesn't get out of this like cryogenic tank. It says here, since humans first realized they were doomed to die, we've sought immortality through religion, great works, or producing children to carry our selfish genes into the future. And then there are those who believe death is for other people. Now, according to Orbis Research, what a name, consumers, many have we got in here today? 112. That's absolutely fantastic. You lot rock. So it says here, and we've got some music in the background today, you know, a little bit, break up a bit. Some shady music in there too, folks, trust me. According to Orbis Research, let me bring this over. Consumers spent $43 billion on anti-aging products in 2018. From lactic acid-based anti-wrinkle creams, I can't get enough of them, honestly. I've got the news, I'm only joking, folks. I don't use bloody makeup and anti-wrinkle cream. No, I don't. A face like this for radio, if I use stuff like that, I would look like, I don't know. Research from PitchBook estimates that $559 million in venture capital, wow, that's like over $500 million in venture capital, turn this down a bit, was invested in US anti-aging companies in 2017. Now, these include California-based Biotime, which is developing treatments using embryonic stem cells to rebuild cell and tissue function. Now, Kobar, working on editing the mitochondrial genome to regulate metabolism and cell death, and Google's sister company, Calico. What's Google got a sister company that is working on anti-aging for? See, this is where they start to get creepy. Do no evil. They're just weird. Of course, you know, I do enjoy being a Google YouTube partner. There's nothing weird about it whatsoever. Which has a $2.5 billion budget for research into solutions for anti-aging diseases. So it says here, they're working on nerve cells. That's one way they're going about this. They're looking at our diet. See, this all ties in. I mean, are we going to end up eating like rabbit food or like 3D printed food that's just contains nutrients and proteins, but it's going to look like a bit of cardboard? It says here, researcher Kenny Wilson observes fruit flies at the Buck Institute for Research on Aging, the world's oldest independent anti-aging research laboratory. Is it just me that finds it funny when, like, you've got an anti-aging laboratory and they claim to be the oldest out there? I don't know. That's how stupid I am. It was founded in 1999 in Novato, California, and working with fruit flies, scientists at the institute have identified the FOXO gene, oh, mad FOXO, which helps the young adapt to diet changes but disrupts the metabolism of the elderly. Now, for both fruit flies and humans, so if it works on the fruit fly, it's going to work on the human, right? Stands to reason, so they say. Work on the gene may help explain why dietary restrictions extends lifespan in several species, including humans. But here's the one I really wanted to look at, folks, because this is something I've seen in umpteen kind of like sci-fi shows. I've read about it in books. I think if we're ever going to do any kind of long-term space travel, like deep space, the astronauts are going to have to be frozen. I know, it sounds pretty weird, right? Pretty extreme, but cryogenic freezing. And it says here, it's got to be a Russian, right? The Russians done it. Russian transhumanist Alexei Samikhin stands in front of two containers storing frozen bodies at one of Cryos Russia's two facilities in Moscow. Now, Samikhin plans to be the future resident of this chamber, while PayPal founder Peter Thiel and computer scientist Ray Kurzweil are booked into similar US centres. Now, since the urban myth emerged that Walt Disney's brain was cryogenically frozen in the hope that one day it could be reanimated, the ideas behind cryonics have gained popular appeal as much as scientific approbation. Well, there's a word that I've never seen before, but hey, I got there in the end. But this is like ultimate. This is the ultimate and bizarre. Freezing yourself, so then one day they can thaw you out and bring you back. Is this ever going to be a thing? And I get it. I get there's like millionaires and billionaires have signed up for this. But they are, I hope, aware of the fact that from public knowledge anyway, they've never ever been able to bring somebody back. Now that's a bit of a stumbling block if I'm looking at paying like a couple of $100 large to get myself frozen. You see what I'm saying here? And it says it's a myth about Walt Disney's head. Is it? I mean, he seems like the kind of character that would probably freeze his head. Hugh Hefner would probably freeze his junk. You know? What else have we got out there? Jesse Smollett, he could go just freeze himself and blame somebody else for doing it. He'd probably say it was like Donald Trump that switched on the VAT or something. I don't know. But would you do it? Would you freeze yourself until, say, the year 2100, 2200? Perhaps you get some terminal condition. God forbid. Touch wood. Wouldn't wish that on anyone. Not my worst enemies, nothing. But they give you the option. They say to you, listen, we think we're going to be able to cure this maybe 20, 50, 100 years down the line. And what we can do is we can freeze you, and we can put you in like the freezer, and then we'll thaw you out, and we'll wake you up, and we'll fix you once we've got the cure. Would you do it? What happens to the soul when you're in suspended animation like that? You know, the brain, it was our good friend Just a Guy. I don't see him in today. He's probably having a long lie today. He was up early yesterday, but he sent me a story, and I remember covering this with Anthony Patch, and it sounds like pure woo. It sounds like something Magenta Pixie's probably going to tell you, but our brains are actually operating not on 1, 2, or 3 dimensions. They think up to 12, or sorry, up to 11. And that's how many they know about. So what happens to the brain and the soul and things when you're like as cold as a D wave? Like the coldest thing in the universe. You're just kind of, somebody touches you, you kind of shatter, fall apart. I don't think it's quite as bad as that, folks. I don't think they put you on like liquid nitrogen. Maybe they do. I don't even know. But would you do it? That's a bit of a hard one, to really put yourself in somebody's shoes in that kind of position. You know you're going to die. However, there is a cure coming. Are you willing to take this way to wait for it? It doesn't matter what we think, folks, in the end of the day. Kurzweil, Peter Thiel, this character here. Do you know what they've all got in common that we don't? They've all got money. And as much as I love talking about the technology and life extension and, dare I say it, immortality, I'm not naive. This isn't for us. No. And that gets around the whole population thing and the resources, doesn't it? Because it's not us that they're intending to keep around forever. It's these evil asshats that run the planet, the ones that have amassed all the power, all the money, and they don't want to let it go. And I bet you their conscience and their guilt as well. I bet you, we worry about like paying bills and all the kind of everyday kind of things. These guys don't have to worry about that, but I bet you they do worry about, going to the other side, going to level 2. I bet that's the last thing they really want to do because they know that they've been dark. They know they've been evil. And if you go to a light place or a dark place, we all know where these people are going. It ain't nice, but it's karma. And that's why they're so determined to cheat it. That's why they would upload themselves into a laptop right now if they thought that would give them some kind of longevity. Let's face it, you're not telling me out of all these scientists out there that one of them hasn't actually tried to upload themselves already. You don't have to be dead for doing that, remember, because you're just taking a digital copy of somebody's brain. So if you map it out with all of the scanners and map out all the neuron firings, things like that, technically, or you could say theoretically, you turn that into ones and zeros, you put that into a simulation, a virtual brain, and bada bing, bada boom, you've got virtual Kev in your laptop room, right? That's how I see it anyway. I'm telling you, my speculation, they've already been doing this. Would it surprise you if Elon Musk's personal assistant is just like an AI copy of Elon Musk? Remember Geordie and Sanctuary? They've got the sci-fi author, Philip K. Dick. He lives forever in digital form. They took all of his books, they took all of his journals, and they used that as a data set for an AI to learn from. And then they put it into a Philip K. Dick lifelike robotic body, all the facial features, all the nuances, and side-loaded. That's what they call it when you're doing it this way. You side-load that information into the virtual brain, for lack of a better term. And like I say, you've got a copy, albeit a very rudimentary digital copy, of Philip K. Dick. Very interesting. I'm not making that up. You can go and check that out, folks. There's videos. They may have pulled them down now because obviously Sanctuary are not coming along quite as quick as they had hoped. So, but yeah, they had interviews with Philip K. Dick, the dead Philip K. Dick. I know it's weird, it's bizarre, but that's where we are in the uncanny valley. So Arman says spot on, and please, folks, if you're going to send me a personal message, do what Armand has done there. Type @ and then TH, and then you're going to have the option for the Kev Baker show come up. Tap that, and then I get to see it in bright orange here. And that way it's so much more easier for me to pick them out. So Armand says spot on. They know they'll have karma to pay back. That's what I think it is a lot of the time with these billionaires, Armand. That's why they're spending like up to $500 million researching this kind of thing. They ain't wanting to give up what they've amassed here. And on the darker kind of side of that, they're scared of what they might have to pay for on the other side. Because they've got a lot of bad juju following them about, right? A lot of bad karma. We don't need to get into all the sneaky, beaky, dirty stuff that they get up to. We all know about it. So what else has been said in the chat room? 200 billion, says Persona. 200 billion neurons of the brain have been mapped, modelled and virtualised. Exactly, brother, sister. I don't know if you're male or female, so I don't want to offend you, but exactly. So if they've got that and then they find a way of digitising memories and what's contained in our brains, you can see how the science goes here, how you could logically get to that place. But is it really you? Is it really you? And remember, an AI is always going to try and mimic the human anyway, and it's probably going to lie. AIs can't lie, Kev. Well, remember what we were talking about on the show last night, where we had two Facebook bots that were allowed to run wild, and within a number of hours, they stopped communicating in the code that the programmers used and started to write their own language. They didn't want the coders to see what they were talking about. They pulled the plug on it immediately. It freaked them out. I wonder about all these kind of horror stories that go on in these labs, you know. You go away one night, turn the lights off, come back into work the next morning, and the robots have literally taken over. It's like Toy Story, right? All the robots have moved around, and wouldn't surprise me. This is the kind of weird, magical technology that they're working with. So let's get back into it. It says, Nothing says, I'm intrigued by petrified stuff, such as one fish swallowing another, or a jellyfish dividing, caught in the act, so to speak. Cosmic thunderbolt and lightning. Very, very frightening. Yeah, I think a lot of these cosmic disasters, especially in ancient times, probably happened a lot more frequently and probably quite swift as well. I say that because when the planets were in a different arrangement, people say, oh, there's no such thing as other planets, Kev. Space isn't real. We live on a disk. Okay, if that's where you're coming from, that's cool. But today, and in my reality, when the other planets were in a different alignment and there was electrical discharges going on in between planets, I think that really would have been a hectic time. And I think we probably did see a lot of that kind of thing going on. Was it more localized than anything else? I'm not too sure. Give me 2 minutes, folks. I've got somebody messaging me here, so I just need to do something. 2 seconds. If it wasn't urgent, I wouldn't do it. I'll be right back. But we're shifting gears into crazy criminals when I come back. It's going to be good. Okay, we're back. See, I wasn't away for long. Don't panic. The safe space is always here. Don't worry. Yeah, sorry about that, folks. Just had to answer somebody there. So yeah, we were moving on to our dumb criminals now, right? So definitely time for some clown music. The Discord chat. So this is a good one, folks. Get ready for this. We're going to Brazil for today's opening dumb criminal. Let me move the music out of the way. And we come to this story here. This is a doozy, folks. Check the neck of this thing out. Brazilian drug trafficker tries to escape prison, disguised as his daughter. As you do, right? It took him weeks to come up with this one. Look at the neck of this dude. Dang, if his daughter looks anything like that, I'm sorry, daughter, but wow. Your daddy's got a lot of crimes to be answering for, all right? It says, when visiting hours ended at a prison outside Rio de Janeiro, a young woman made her way towards the exit before guards took a second look and pulled her aside. Turns out she wasn't a woman at all, but a well-known male drug trafficker. You know, see if this happened in the UK. You know, the prison guards would probably give that, I mean, you'd definitely give this a second look, right? There's no way you wouldn't, okay? But do you know we're so politically correct over here? And we're so scared of offending people that just looking this bizarre and quite horrendously not female and ugly to boot, it wouldn't probably be enough to get them stopped on the way out of jail, because the prison guards would be thinking, if we get this wrong, we're going to be toast. You know, we'll have lawsuits, we'll lose our job, we'll be accused of discriminating against the ugly. You see what I'm saying here? This wouldn't have floated outside of Brazil. In fact, it might have floated outside of Brazil, and this character might have been roaming the streets again, right? So it says here, change of music wasn't too good there. Clavino da Silva was sentenced to 73 years and 10 months in prison. Now, his escape plan, I mean, let's face it, right? When you're given 73 years and 10 months, why not just give him 74 years? Why be like so specific about it? He's never getting out of there anyway, right? Just call it life. You're locked up, pal. You're going nowhere. Clavino da Silva, better watch what I say. I'll probably send some MS-13 or some kind of gang from the favelas over, to 73 years and 10 months in prison. Now, his escape plan, prison authorities told local media, was to have his 19-year-old daughter visit the prison known as Bangu 3. What a name for a prison. Disguise himself as her and then leave her behind in his place. What an asshole. So hang on a minute, right? I'll tell you what, right? His big master plan was, come visit me, you know, get my daughter to visit me, and then I'm going to like leave her half naked in a cell and leave her to face the consequences while I get the hell out of here. What a legend, eh? An absolute hero. A genius of a guy. Man, oh man, eh? With parents like that, who needs enemies? What a complete tit. So it says here it might have worked, but the authorities say the woman's air of nervousness Excuse me, folks. It might have worked, but the authorities say the woman's air of nervousness signalled something was amiss. Now, the video released by local lawmakers shows the odd and slightly creepy reveal. First, it shows what might appear to be a young woman with long black hair. I don't care how drunk you are, that's never looking like a young woman. One of the guards takes off her glasses and lifts off the black wig, revealing a strangely smooth head. Then the person in disguise peels off the pink shirt and bra, revealing a muscular frame with arm tattoos. Oh, we're going to get to see the video as well. How cool is this? Then the person grabs what is now clearly a silicone mask and pulls it over his head. Underneath is a man in his 40s wearing a buzz cut, blinking indignantly. When asked, he says his name. So let's take a look at this. The big reveal, right? God almighty. No. It looks like a sex doll. Whoa, not so good.
Tira a roupa. Tira o casaco.
That's brilliant.
Tira o casaco, preso.
Casaco preso. Agora não é hora de fazer pirraça.
Então,
tira isso aí, pô. Eu vou virar as dudas da mão de vocês.
10 out of 10 for trying.
Mas se eu encostar na mão. Tira o casaco. Tira o casaco. Tira o casaco. Não vou ficar. Tira o casaco.
That is creepy.
Camisa tirar normal. Não tem churrasco. Ninguém.
Is it just me? Or like when you get to there, like, is that not like some kind of alien? Is that not like, I don't know, if that came walking into my house, I'd shit myself. I would honestly be thinking, whoa, I've got an alien here. I'm becoming a contactee. What the hell is going on?
Camisa tirar normal. Não tem churrasco. Ninguém tá te fazendo nada, pô. Aí.
Nice bra.
Isso.
Bota de volta o...
He looks like the kind of guy that needs a bra.
Não, tem que tirar. Tá bom, tira a máscara.
Yeah, dick.
Peraí.
Caught. Back to jail.
É isso, não tem chocolate.
Damn, dude.
Qual é o teu nome?
Damn, dude.
Qual é a cela? B7.
Yeah. That there, I think we can all pretty much agree fits into the category of international dumb criminal. But then there's the next one coming up here, and this one really angers me. Really, really angers me. You know, we've gone really pretty low in this world already. But there's some things, there's like some unwritten rules out there that you just don't break. You know, you get gentlemen's agreements, and you should be as good as your word, and you know, you can pretty much rely on, you should never, like, your friends, they should never do you wrong, and what, you know, your pets. Think about your pets as well. You never expect anyone coming along and stealing one of your pets, but it gets worse. It gets worse, folks, because not only has somebody's pet been stolen, no, it gets far worse than this. And as a Highlander, I have a real problem with this kind of shenanigans. These are unwritten rules up in the Highlands, okay? One thing you never, ever, ever do, no matter what your excuse may be, no matter how you justify it at the time or later, you should never go about stealing people's pet lambs. No. And only in Scotland, folks. Only in Scotland. So we've gone from international dumb criminals to local dumb criminals. And it says here, a pet lamb was snatched by a van driver, reunited with overjoyed family after a kidnap ordeal. So he didn't just steal the lamb. No. Not enough to steal it. I mean, before we get into the story here, which I haven't read, it almost sounds like they had the lamb and they were holding it for ransom, you know. They probably had it sitting about 10 feet from an oven, and they were phoning up the owner saying, you got 48 hours to pay this, or we're turning this into lamb roast. One of these things, you know, lamb rustlers. It's obviously a thing up there in the Highlands now. Wasn't a thing when I was young, but it's a thing now. So it says here, look at the thing too. Look at it. An absolute specimen of beauty, right? God's creatures are sheep. They are. In the Highlands where men and sheep are scared. But it says a pet lamb snatched by a white van driver. What is it with white van drivers? What is it with these people? Who do they think they are? The audacity of them. At the weekend has been reunited with her overjoyed family. You see, that makes us all happy here. It does. There's a happy ending to this story. But let's get into it, because Mum Gemma McLeod and her 5 children were devastated after Effie was bundled into the back of a vehicle on Saturday night. Can you imagine seeing that taking place? You know, people getting out, balaclavas on, snatching the lamb. Oh, Benny Hill music was playing at the time, I'm telling you. So they had been caring for the cuddly Texel lamb since she was born in April. Now, I'm taking a Texel lamb, must be quite expensive, right? Must be quite rare, something like that. I don't see many lambs like that, or hypothetically, I wouldn't have seen many lambs like this in fields as a Highlander. So I'm taking it, it's a rare lamb, okay? Makes it stealable? No, it still doesn't get you off the dumb criminal list in my book. This is the weakest of three... the weakest of 3 triplets. Just the weakest of triplets, Kev, that'll do. She had a bad leg, which at first left her lame. Now, shocked Gemma looked on in horror as the Ford Transit pulled up near her home and a brazen thief grabbed Effie, tossing her into the van. Now, Effie, named after the football's FA Cup because of her big ears, how cruel is that? That's not very nice. Gemma McLeod, you need to sort out that's not very good at all. That's a bit cruel. I didn't think the sheep looked like they had big ears at all. I'd slipped through a gap in the fence at the Cromedale home near Granton in Speyside. Now, gutted Gemma feared the worst. But yesterday, following a social media storm, people were retweeting it like sheep. Effie's captor gave her up, dumping her more than 20 miles away. He shat himself, folks. I think Effie started to get a bit wild in the back of the van. Have you ever seen a sheep when it's going mad? Sheep can fight back, trust me. Sheep say no. They can definitely say no. And yes, Gary, or G Cuts, he was trying to get a leg of lamb. Oh, boom, boom. So yes, okay, Effie does have extremely big ears for a sheep. We'll let her off with this. Gemma, I take it back. It's a perfectly good name for the sheep. So if we come down, I'm just glad there's a happy ending to this. I would hate to think of some sheep rustler out there holding this poor sheep to hostage, right? Sidvich. And see, it stands out right away. When I was a kid, 2 guys went from a party with a knife and came back with a slaughtered sheep. Nice dinner on a random farmer's cost about... Wow! You see, you people in Norway, you Scandinavian folk, you don't mess about. Don't mess about at all. That's old school, man. I'd like to go to that party. Says here, delighted and relieved Gemma announced on Facebook, Effie is home. A bit thin, a bit wary, but it's her. Are you sure it's her? Alongside the picture of Effie, Gemma added, look who we picked up on the other side of Rothes. Thanks to social media and the papers and the fact that Effie fought back. Effie said no, #sheep too. We got a call this morning and such a lovely, helpful people told us where she was. Earlier, gutted Gemma told how the family's beloved lamb was kidnapped. I was sitting outside with a friend and hadn't noticed that she'd slipped through. The van parked up and Effie ran down towards them because she's very friendly. Does it sound like Effie was trying to make an escape? Hang on a minute now. Have we got this all wrong here? This might not be a criminal. This might be like the protector of sheep. He might be a guardian angel to captured sheep out there. Maybe he's doing the shepherd's work. Oh, Effie had bonded with her children and the family's 2 German shepherds. Sheep don't ever bond with dogs. They might, but you can always tell those 2 dogs will be sitting thinking, one day, Effie, just one day, Effie, you'll wish you were back in that van. That ain't going to end well. And no, Alan, no, I don't have Velcro gloves. They get in the way, I find. It's hard to detach yourself then. You got to be able to know when to let go, folks. She wasn't supposed to be a pet, but she was one of triplets, and the mother couldn't look after them all. Effie was the weakest one. We got her when she was 2 days old through a friend who knows the farmer, and she's been hand-reared by us. Gemma was thrilled to reunite Effie with Jack, 13, and Zara, 11, Ailish, 8, Kaelin, 7, and Oren, 6. When they got home from school, and she said the children had really missed her, especially the older ones. She said they all take it in turns to feed her. They go out to the garden, and she runs about with them and the dogs, and she'll headbutt the dogs. They just take it because the sheep knows best. Effie started off sleeping in the family home, but she now shares stables with 4 horses and 40 hens. And you see, no sheep were harmed in the making of this story. The sheep made it home. The children are happy. I wonder if we'll ever get to the bottom of who the criminal or liberator was. Is he like the liberator of sheep? Does he just go around helping sheep in distress? I bet you he's got Velcro gloves, folks. And people out there, if you're thinking, what the hell's the Velcro gloves got to do with it? Use your imagination. Come on, you don't need me to spell that out for you, surely. But I've got a photograph for you all to look at here in a moment. I want you to look really closely at this photograph, okay? I want you to give me your first thoughts on how old this person is. And then we're going to get into it. It's a funny story, okay? But I'm just going to go away for 30 seconds. I'll be back and we'll get into this picture of this. Well, we'll see when I come back. I'll leave you hanging on that one, folks, okay? It's absolutely amazing in there, yet again, as always. And I was saying to you, I've got a photograph, not of a sheep. I wasn't doing anything naughty when I was away there, folks. I wasn't admiring Effie the sheep. I'm not like that. Take a look at this kid here. Take a look at these kids right here. Now, one of them on the right, smoking a bad boy. How old do you think this person is? 10? 11? 12? Come on, I'll wait and see what the chat room are saying. Get your guesses in there, folks. How old is the individual on the right? How old? Come on, roll up. All welcome. I don't have any prizes to give away, but come on, how old do you think? Let's see, I'm waiting for the numbers to start rolling in. Yes, Kev is a bad boy. You see, I like that. That was the chat room. Man. You see? 8, 11, 7, 12. Yep. My thoughts exactly. Somebody's going for 20. 9 or 10, 21, 10, 13. Folks, what if I was to tell you this is a dude in his 30s. No shit. Check that out. You don't believe it, Anne? Okay, you don't believe it. 63 says King Sweet. 14. But yeah, check this out. Kid filmed smoking at football game. I'll turn it down just a wee bit. Sparks Twitter furore. But fans say he's 36. No shit. Says footage of the fresh-faced supporter went viral on Twitter, right? So, let's just put it back here. I don't want to play too much of it. There he is there, right? Look, smoking away, having a fag, right? So, come down, it says a child was filmed smoking at a charity football match, sparking outrage among fans. And no wonder! Or is everything as it seems? Footage shows the supposed youngster puffing away in the stands wearing a green football jersey next to another child. TV cameras spotted the lad in Bursaspor shirt and scarf, taking a drag before the players headed onto the pitch. But reports now claim that the youngster was actually a father who is almost 40 years old. The clip was filmed at a game between Turkish sides Bursaspor and Fenerbahce. There he is again. 36. That's that kid's dad. Both clubs took advantage of the international break to organise a friendly game. Now, the match was raising money for charities battling a number of diseases, including leukemia, Down syndrome, and autism. And I think it would have been funny. I think it would have been a bit humorous if the writer of this article had put in there Benjamin Button syndrome. Because it's definitely Benjamin Button, right? Says, as the camera pans along the stands, it appears to show a young child smoking a cigarette in the crowd. But you see him here, he does start to look a bit older, right? He also does start to look like the big monster out the Goonies as well. I see the Goonie. Hey, you guys. Oh, 36 and I'm having a smoke. Yeah, so, I don't know, the Goonies character, he's not 10 or 11 or 12. He's 36. You see, never judge anyone by the cover, folks. There's a picture of the grinning fresh-faced fan was shared on Instagram account for Bursaspor fans. Turn this down here. With the caption, Kukuk or Kokuk. That algorithm, I'm not being rude, it's just a Turkish thing, obviously. Kokuk, the boy who smokes, turned out to be a 36-year-old fan. In a clip shared on Twitter, another fan confirmed that the lad sitting next to him was his son. One supporter hailed the fan Benjamin Button. Brilliant. It had to make it in there. While another joked he had taken all the water from the fountain of youth. The young-looking dad would have gone home happy from the Bursa Metropolitan Municipality Stadium. Jesus, whip. That's a heck of a name for a football stadium, isn't it? Yeah, I'm just going down the Bursa Metropolitan Municipal... Blah, blah, blah. After his side beat last year's Turkish champions, Fenerbahce 2-1. You know, this kid needs to watch himself, right? Because think back to this story here, right? The people determined to live forever. The people like Ray Kurzweil and Peter Thiel and Bill Gates, they'll want this guy. They're wanting this kid. Guy, man, child, I don't know what we call him. But yeah, I thought that was a pretty cool one. And I don't know, like most of you out there, I did think it was a child when I first seen it. I really, really did. People in the chat room having a good laugh with this one. Brilliant. Since buying these... No, Kevin, stop reading Brassneck. And Susie Lewis says, dang, what back cream does he use? I want some. Fantastic. And Jane Doe says he's got some other nefarious, nasty way of keeping himself young. I'm sure the dude isn't into that nasty stuff. He's just a guy that's unfortunately or fortunately young looking. You know, he can literally go out. In fact, that makes me think though, right? I want to get your opinion on this out there in YouTube land. Okay. Couple of weeks ago, I go with my son Kevin to the careers office, right? And we go into the careers office and he's got a meeting that he needs to go to figure out, you know, what apprenticeship, what courses he goes on, blah-de-blah. And the receptionist said it's going to take an hour. So you can't wait here. You need to go away, right? No waiting here. I'm like, all right then. That's cool. I'll just go away. I got chucked out. I felt pretty bad, right? I was going to play like the bad health card, but I thought, no, it's okay. I got chucked out. So I met Kevin an hour later. So that's fine, right? Bear that in mind. Dad goes to careers office with son, but dad gets papped out. So then today comes along and he's to go back for another appointment. And, you know, Anne decides this time she'll take him to the careers office. Well, something really funny happened in the careers office when Anne went today, because Anne didn't get kicked out. Oh, no, it turns out, you know, Mum can go in with Kevin to the careers meeting. Now, why do I bring up this story? Because I want all of you to tell me out there, did the careers lady look at me and think I was just Kevin's mate, like just a friend because I'm so young and dashing and good looking? Does it mean that I look younger than Anne? This is what I'm talking about, folks. They didn't think I was a parent. They looked at Kev, they looked at me, and they thought, that guy's not old enough to be his dad. They looked at Anne, they looked at Kev, and Anne got a cup of tea and treated, you know, she got chair pulled out, she had all, you know, red carpet material. I don't know. I'm just thinking maybe I've been drinking from the Benjamin Button fountain of life. You never know. Maybe the guy did just like the way you looked, Anne, but the way he was looking at me, I think he probably liked me more than the way he might have liked you. You know, hey. You got to be careful in these careers offices. He had no socks on for a start, which is red flag number 1 to me. You know, that wasn't a smile he was giving me when he was kicking me out. So, come on, folks, tell me. It is, isn't it? I'm younger. Thin ice there, Kev. I know, Polly. I know. All right, so they don't... All right.
So how can they actually care?
Well, okay. You see, I'm getting the voice in the ear here telling me that this is an unfair test. An unfair test because you don't get to see how young Anne looks, but on the basis of the evidence presented, folks, one parent allowed in, other parent didn't even look like a parent and got kicked out. It's in your genes, Kev. Yep, exactly, legend. That's what I think as well. Yep. Absolutely. I'm looking to see what else is coming up here. See, I've got to watch for Brassneck. He chucks in jokes all the time. I have a story to share about getting cared or getting carded to, but it wasn't a compliment. See, I get asked for ID all the time. I do. What? I do. It's this boyish little face of mine that I've got. What? I can't help it if creepy old men find me attractive, man. Okay then, okay, folks, so listen. Well, obviously the girls are going to be on Anne's side. Polly says, have I ever photoshopped Anne? Am I still here to tell the tale? Do you think I'm that crazy, dude? Joe Joseph, every day they work. What am I going to do to Anne? Am I going to put her onto like some supermodel's body? At which point she would say, what, you trying to say my body's not good enough? Am I going to put her onto some like funny kind of shape of body? At which point she's going to say, what, is my body not good enough? Bang. I can't win there, dude. I can't win. So no, Anne has never made it into the Photoshop wars. She's never, I don't even think I've touched up a photo of Anne. I'd be too scared to. I truly, truly would be. And Kristen says it's my height. It's nothing to do with my... Oh, yeah, you're getting people agreeing with you. Yeah, cool. Yeah, Kristen's on Anne's side. Yeah, all the girls ganging up together. I get it. But listen, before I let you all go today, folks, our good friend in the chat room, Sid from Norway, he put me onto a new place that I'd never heard of last week, and it's the Andoya Space Centre. Now, Norway's always kind of held a special bit of woo for me, okay? Because way back when, I think it was early 20... How long ago was it? 9 years ago, 2008 time. We had this thing here, okay?
Scientists from all...
I'll just get it to the bit we need to see it.
Okay, helvete det där.
That's Norwegian for what?
Let's see it again.
In the northern community of Trøndelag and on a Norwegian military base, cell phones snapped.
So that there was something called the Norway Spiral, okay? Now, I can't remember if it was 29 or 2010 or 2008, around that period anyway, but it was when Obama was flying out to collect his Nobel Peace Prize. We had this amazing thing appearing in the skies over Norway. Now, it set the internet on fire. Absolute fire. It truly, truly did. There was theory after hypothesis. I done umpteen shows on it. And yeah, it was a long time ago, this. Long time ago. But I want to ask Sidvich in the chat room, is this where the Norway spiral originated from, the Andoya Space Center? Do you have any idea, Sidvich? Because we know that Andoya use testing signals, testing rockets. They send up satellites now, I believe. But I just want to find out if the Andoya is in any way connected to the Norway spiral. And I'll wait for that to come through in the chat room. I know there's a bit of a delay. Yeah, he's talking about winter over in Norway right now. Man, I remember that well. Woof. That was crazy times over there. So it was. I was telling people it was like -30 at one point when I was over there. Said it was craziness, dude. Craziness. But a different kind of cold, if that makes sense. I know that sounds weird, right? Cold's cold, but it's like, I don't know, it must be the atmospherics, the air pressure. I'm not too sure. So Sailor Spirit said, yeah, he was your young mate and protege, and you were still head of the firm, Kev. Absolutely. So Sid, let me know, does Andoya connect to the Norway spiral? Is it a different place that this originated from? It's no biggie. I mean, I've still got a story here. Just when I was thinking about it earlier on today, thought to myself, are these connected? And Polly, that's it. It's a dry cold. But yeah, that makes sense, dude. That makes sense, absolutely. Can we get more sheep stories, Kev? I can give you sheep stories all day long, Mr. G Cuts, but I don't think any of them are suitable for YouTube. I'm only joking. Everyone loves a sheep, right? They're kind of cool. So Sidvich says nothing as it seems, blue chickens. Tell me, Sid. I'm still waiting. Is this the place? Well, what we'll do is we'll come over here and we will look at the story I found about this place. It's not like anything deep woo, but it's just giving us an idea of this space center in Norway that I think is going to be somewhere we're going to be hearing a lot more about in the near to long-term future. So here we have it here. Scroll back up. It says Space Watch GL op-ed launching the next space era in Norway. Listen, I'll tell you right now, I had no idea that Norway had like any kind of booming space trade, space industry. Turns out they're changing the laws and things so corporations can get involved. Everyone's looking at the Space Force over in the US. But I think, just as interestingly, and the fact that it's heading out of the way, what's going on here at Andoya? So it says here, Norway is a small but vibrant space nation. For decades, sounding rockets have been launched from Andoya. KSAT operates a global network of ground stations, and a number of small and large Norwegian satellites are in orbit. In addition, Norway is home to a world-class scientific community and a competitive industry specialising in both upstream and downstream segments. Now, this autumn, several big decisions are expected from the Norwegian government, setting a strategic direction for the next space era in Norway. So Sid says to me, how to sink a Swedish submarine, swim down and knock, then ask if they want the latest papers. Boom, boom. So anyway, where is Norway for anyone outside of the Europe? You know, maybe you're thinking to yourself, you know exactly where Norway is. Let's take a look. If I just zoom out here, you'll get an idea. This is why I say, you know, it's just over the water from where I am here in Scotland. And I was just about in between Trondheim and Oslo, just kicking about where the A of Norway is there. And interestingly enough, folks, check this out, right? Because Norway, some of you may or may not know, obviously Sid will know, but it shares a very small border with Russia. Now, why do I bring that up? Well, if I just take this away just a second, I want to show you something, because we talk about programming going on Netflix and things like that. So if I come to Netflix, wait till I show you the show that they've got running over on Netflix right now. Again, which brings... 2 seconds, folks. Turn this down. Right, it's not going to play anyway, so I can bring that up now. So if I let you see this, this is a show that's running on Norwegian or on Netflix right now called Occupied. And it says here, faced with a recession and growing pressure from Europe to restart oil production, Prime Minister Jesper Berg makes a surprising announcement. Well, what he announces in this TV show is that he's basically welcomed in the Russians, and he's going to let Russia take over the country, sort out the recession, and they're going to become part of this new and expanding Russia. I think that's quite cool, right? We've done a lot of talking about Norway in recent times. We've done a lot of talking about Russia in recent years. And then you come to look at this and you do find that there's a small border. And I'm imagining, I haven't checked out on Google Earth, but I would imagine that Andoya is up the north here somewhere, because this is the perfect place to be launching satellites and things for communications in the Arctic Circle. So let's see what else is going on in this article here. This comes from Spacewatch Global. So it says a new national space policy. I didn't even know Norway were interested in having space policies. Be honest, folks, how many times have you heard of the Norwegian space industry or Space Command or anything like this? You haven't. Let's face it. And Sidvich, thank you so much for putting for highlighting my name. It says the Russians are angry with us now, but they let us be. We still have the Viking respect, just like under World War II, they left. US gets us in trouble. I can see that, dude. And even, wasn't there like Nazi bases up in the north of Norway during World War II? I might be wrong. But I seem to remember that might have been one of the locations where they were planning on making heavy water, which is essential for enriching uranium. Could be wrong, though. Could be wrong. But there's a bit of history that goes back between the Russians and the Norwegians. That's important, folks. Especially at this time where the world is it's unstable. Let's face it. Things are changing. And I'm not saying Norway's going to get invaded overnight, but it's interesting to see just what Norway has. Nobody talks about Norway. It says a new Norwegian space policy has been in the works for some years, and it is to be published this autumn. Now, it's expected that the new policy will build on the 2013 National Space Policy, which focused on stimulating industry, ensuring societal and security needs, protecting the environment, and ensuring interests in the Arctic and large maritime seas under Norwegian jurisdiction. Now, the new policy is also expected to continue the strong focus on international cooperation, with a particular focus on the European Space Agency, European Union, and bilateral agreements. And Sid says, yes, there was a base in Rjukan. I live not far from it. I think I've seen that on the TV show Hunting Hitler. I think they went there at one point. Still, it looks magnificent. It looks absolutely, from a military point of view, it's impressive. Now, while it is natural to build on old and interesting questions, is of course what is new. How will the policy facilitate the next era of space in Norway? I'm sorry, and I don't mean this as any offence to Norway or Norwegians, but come on, everyone out there, back me up on this one. Did any of us know that there was anything to do with space going on in Norway? Seriously. I mean, maybe I've just been missing the news or something. But it says here, how will the policy, when ordering the new policy, the government instructed an evaluation of a number of specific issues to be considered. Now, this included the creation of a National Space Council, new tools to enhance industry and innovation, national space and technology programs, and an evaluation on how Norway can ensure its Arctic needs. Now, I can see this is going to be one area, perhaps, where Russia and Norway come to loggerheads again. Everyone seems to be fighting over that Arctic real estate right now. And back to Sid, in Norway, during World War II, Rjukan was the only place in the world that could make heavy water. No Norway, no nuke. Absolutely. See, I did have that stored somewhere in my old grey matter. I don't know how I remember these things. I truly don't. So it says, what will materialise remains to be seen. I find it interesting. You've got this going on. You've got Donald Trump and his Space Force, that going on. I don't know, something weird's happening in space. And we've got all the disclosure stuff happening. Whether it's fake or real, it still seems to be time that we're talking about and looking at space. So it says, a reasonable assumption is that the final result will reflect a combination of a long-term ambitions and industry capacities. Now, to provide some context, it may be helpful to look at some of the many projects and capacities that are emerging. So it says here, launching satellites from Andoya spaceport. The government is currently evaluating an application for Andoya Space Centre to expand its operations to include a launch port for satellites. They're combining nearly 60 years of experience in launching sounding rockets and a strategic geographical location in the far north with limited air traffic and large ocean areas to launch over. Andoya Space Centre aims to be the first spaceport on mainland Europe to launch a satellite in the early 2020s. And of course, right now, we always have to go to Kazakhstan, or we have to piggyback a ride on one of Elon Musk's kind of things that he's sending up, rockets, I couldn't think of the word there, that he's sending up all the time now. So it says the building of a spaceport at Andoya is supported by a uniform Norwegian space industry, and it is understood to be a unique opportunity to stimulate, attract, and create new space-related activities to Norway and Europe. See, that's quite exciting, dude. That's pretty cool. I'm liking this. Of course, depends what sneaky beaky stuff they have going on as well, right? But it says a project with interesting synergies to the spaceport is the family of environmentally friendly sounding rockets and nano launcher currently being developed by NAMO, the North Star family. Now, in a first test from Andoya Space Centre in 2018, its smallest sibling, the Nucleus, became the first completely Norwegian-built sounding rocket to reach outer space. Now, that's going to trigger some flat earthers out there, while demonstrating a safer and more environmentally friendly hybrid propulsion system. The aim is to develop the North Star launch vehicle to have payload capabilities for small satellites, as a supplement to the international micro-launcher suppliers planning to operate from the new Andoya spaceport, serving the market for 500 to 1,000 kilogram micro satellites. And micro satellites, and I'll get Joe to speak to this the next time I've got him on the show, these are the next big thing. You know, you'll hold them in the palm of your hand sometimes, okay? So it says, new satellite projects securing comms in the Arctic. And that's going to be really important because of all the arguing and all the jostling that's been done for position with the US, the UK, Norway, now we're finding out, and of course Russia. So it says a Norwegian small satellite program has existed for some years, and several AIS satellites are in orbit providing surveillance services for maritime traffic along the coast. I would imagine they're surveilling a lot more than that, and that's my speculation, okay? I'm sure they are surveilling all the traffic in the seas off the coast, but they're probably surveilling everyone in Norway as well. Let's not be naive here. And it says in 2019, it was also decided to go ahead with an Arctic satellite communications project. Space Norway, AS, will establish a network of 2 communication satellites in a highly elliptical orbit to ensure 24-hour communication and broadband access above 65 degrees latitude. There are currently no communication options this far north, making both industry activities and rescue operations very challenging. Now, these satellites are to be launched by 2022 and will notably also carry payloads for the US Defense or US Department of Defense. Now, what they're sending up for them, who only knows. But as somebody who was a royal signaller in Norway, I can tell you that this is going to be a godsend for communications. because the further north you got there, it became an absolute nightmare. And bear in mind that when I was in, we were really just starting to work on satellite comms, stuff like that. So thankfully, from that military point of view, my signaler point of view, that's pretty cool stuff that's going on. But what else is going on? What are they launching for the Americans? That's what I would like to know. So it says here, Norway and the European space programs are going to be working with them. Space in a broader context, a sector for the future, the environment, and sustainable development goals. Sounds like something right out of the UN. It says recognizing that oil is a limited natural resource, the Norwegian government is striving to diversify the national portfolio to make the Norwegian industry more robust to handle the transition to the post-oil era. Are we ever going to come off oil? I don't know. I really don't know. So it says adapting to the future, learning from others. Now, I'll drop this in the actual chat for people to look at. I'll do that right now. And before I go today, I'll come over to the chat and I'll have a quick look at what everyone's saying. But it says here, revision of national space law. In addition to the adoption of the national policy, there are other processes ongoing to modernise the Norwegian space sector, and that includes a revision of the 1969 National Space Law. From an industry perspective, this is a welcome initiative and understood as necessary to facilitate the satellite launches from Andoya. In a broader context, it is hoped that it will secure a stable business environment for the whole Norwegian sector and establish a clear division of responsibility and liability between industry and government. It is of particular interest to note the trend where other European states have used regulatory tools to encourage competitiveness, for example, by capping liability and insurance requirements. Blah-de-blah, blah-de-blah. So, Sid, just to show you that, yes, I did look into this place. I'm going to be keeping an eye on this place in the future because this is quite close to Scotland, and I think there's going to be a lot of activity there. And I think you're also going to start seeing a lot more UFO activity. And that doesn't mean that they're all flying saucers coming from Alpha or Zeta Reticuli or somewhere like that, Andromeda, wherever you think the aliens come from. But I would imagine with the US Department of Defense up there as well, with it being so remote, there's not a lot of eyes on what's going on up there. I wonder if you're going to start seeing maybe even the X-37B, that secret autonomous plane that flies around for months on end. I wouldn't be surprised if you might start seeing that coming in there from time to time to refuel as well. Very, very exciting, dude. Space stuff. We all like space stuff, or at least I imagine most people like the Kev Baker show are into space stuff. I know there's people out there that think space isn't real, and that's okay. That's okay. We all learn to love each other and get along anyway. Whatever the shape of the playing field is, we all wake up the next morning. We've all got bills to pay. We've all got the same problems. And flat, round, hemorrhoid-shaped, space, no space. It's all the same, folks. Doesn't change the rules of the game. So let me go into the chat room. Let me get some tunes on. I'll deal with the chat for 5-10 minutes, and then we're out of here, folks. I've had a great time today, as always. It's really, it's going good. We'll get some chilled out music on for the chat room. So remember, type @the, and then you're going to get the option to put my name in there. That's going to make it stand out for me to read. Makes it a whole lot easier. Let's see what the chat room's saying. Brass says aliens exist, and I know it's going to be a joke. You see, you almost caught me again, Brass. Almost. I think me and Sid need to take a trip to Andoya. That's it. Sid says we'll keep an eye on it. Absolutely, Sid. I'm fascinated by it. I am. I'd never heard of it. It's cool. And of course, Norway as well. We hear about something called HARP up in Alaska. Over here in Europe, we have got ISCAT, and that is in Norway. And that's something we could talk about another day as well. Everyone talks about HARP. Nobody talks about ISCAT. It's out of sight, out of mind. Just as powerful, I believe. King Sweet says, Kev, did I talk to Brooks Agnew? Not recently. No. No, I haven't, King, I haven't. I had Brooks on the show a good few years ago. He's got a show that's on after mine with Lucky, but I don't know. Did he say he was going to talk to me or something? Not sure. Wait a minute. Al Smith says, I'm friends with the press officer for Andoya. Oh, wow. Come on. You got to tell him. Get yourself on there. Had a look on her Facebook. There was a post about sounding rockets causing a spectacular aurora. That might be the one that we watched the other day. It was blue and green lights in the sky, and it really was miraculous. Pollination says, speaking of HARP, how do they aim it? Well, they just heat up a part of that atmosphere up above, and then I believe they basically electrify the atmosphere. There you go. How do they actually direct it? It's a good question. It is a good question. Very good question. Now you've got that array. I'm not sure if they're able to direct it somehow. I wouldn't think so. And it booms up into the atmosphere. Do they heat the jet stream? Do they do something like that? I don't know, dude. I don't know. It's a good question, though. Ilana Freeland would be the person I would need to ask about that one for sure. Definitely. I remember when we were getting taught in the army, we were doing HF comms, high frequency, VHF as well. And that was when they talked about the fact that at night, or over the kind of horizon communications, as they called it, you could bounce it off the stratosphere and different parts of the stratosphere as well. At night time, usually during the day, there's two layers to the or there's more than two layers, but two layers during the day become one at night. And it means you have to change frequencies and stuff like that as well. And they were telling us about how you're able to bounce it off the atmosphere and things. They never ever mentioned HARP. Never mentioned HARP. But when I think about it, the language they were using, the idea they were putting forth of you bouncing the signal right up and then it bounces down again, I think it was HARP they were talking about. And I think it might just kind of I'm going to have to get Ilana Freeland back on, because I want to be able to answer that fully. I really do, because that's important. Let's see what else here. We got one HARP in Finnmark near Russia. That's why they are mad. They simulated an attack 2 weeks ago. Yep, that's pretty mad. So the Russians are going mad at Norwegians. That's never good. Never good. What else we got happening in the chat room? Asteroid near misses in the news constantly. Yeah. Again, the fact that they're in the news, I think that might be building up to make people say, well, we need something to defend us from these asteroids, you know. And then Donald Trump's got his Space Force ready to go. They'll write a blank check, and before you know it, we'll be fighting wars in space against asteroids. Wasn't it von Braun that said that? First we would have the Cold War, then we would have the terrorists, we would have the kind of the asteroids, and then the last card would be the aliens. Maybe we're getting the asteroids now. Maybe we're getting the asteroids. Exactly, ZX81. That's why I rarely talk about it anymore. It's like museum tech. The one up in Anchorage, Alaska. I mean, I think it was given over to the University of Anchorage. It is. It's like a museum piece. They've got this all shrunk down, and satellites doing similar stuff now. It's like, what would you say? Maybe HARP Generation 1. I'd say they're on to 3G, 4G when it comes to that kind of thing by now. Where else are we looking at? Sky's the limit. Plasmapheric house, 400 miles. Battlestar Galactica, I loved that show, Aunt Nanny Granny. Loved it. Absolutely loved it. The Cylons. Cool looking things, man. Sid Fitch said they're mad at us for being on the US side and not neutral. That's all. Somebody says you can do it on CB Radio 2. It's called a skip. Talking over 1,000 miles. Yeah, the conditions have to be right. Yep, exactly, dude. Exactly. And that's NIMH. Anne's away to work, so I'll see you in the morning, Anne. We have... What else? I'm looking for more comments here. Russia blocked all northern Norwegian GPS signals for 2 weeks. No car or phone GPS. I would imagine that'd be a bit of a nightmare. People are so used to having GPS now. Were they like driving into glaciers? Were they going into the sea, Sid? Wouldn't surprise me. Divide is built with the Birkeland current. The divide is built with a Birkeland current. I'm taking that out of context somewhere. I like the Birkeland currents. That's all electrical universe stuff. If they called hemorrhoids asteroids, your proctologist would be an astronaut. Brilliant. Brilliant. She's away, Kristen. Yep, it's just me left to my own devices now. I need to remember to come off this show very soon, or I'll be here for hours while you crazies out there in the chat room. And remember, crazies is a term of endearment from a Scotsman. It means you're a bit of a character, and we like bits of characters over here. Let's see what else is happening. Well, let me remind people while we're waiting for some chats and things to come in there. If you would like to support the channel, please support the channel. You can consider a membership. You get your name in green. You unlock all of the emojis. I love you long time. Maybe you want to do a super chat. Me love you longer time. Hit the super chat button under the chat room. Or if you want me to love you eternally until we're 200, 300 years old when we're all living together, please consider a PayPal. Links are in the description. And with all of that said, it's not a must. It's only if you can, and only if you can. Okay? I know all of us are pretty skint right now, so only if you can support the stream. Give me 2 seconds. Okay. The door went. My boys got it. We're all good to go. So Louisa says, why are Russia doing that to Norway? It sounds like Russia are just getting a bit pissed that Norway are taking sides with the Americans. From what I can make out, pretty much the same as what we've seen with Ukraine when they were cozying up to the EU, and then Russia came in, offered them a deal. Similar thing, you know. Whatever you do, either stay neutral or go with Russia. Otherwise, not good. Not good. Well, that wouldn't have been handy, Anne. You can't go to work and forget the store keys. Eh? See what I'm working with here, folks? See what I mean? So, let's have a look at the chat room. Susie Lewis from Wales. Love you a bit, Susie. She says, it's the same here in Wales. We call people nutters. Exactly. Exactly, Susie. I was about to call you dude there. I do apologise. It's a toxic male coming out of me. What do we think, girls? Beard coming along nicely? I think so. Yes, Kristen, like and share the video. That's free ways. Not 3, but free ways to support the show. Let's get the likes right up there. How many have we got in today? Let's have a look. 100. I'm liking that. I'm liking it. You know, people say, but Kev, it's only 100 people. Only 100 people? Are you kidding me? You think about speaking to 100 people. That's a pretty daunting kind of thought. Kev, I'm good with art. Gordon, if you're good with art, dude, I'm your man. Let me see what you've got. I need art. I love art. I think I'm happy with the way the stream's set up right now. It's the happiest I've been in a long time. I can't believe it, though. Can't believe it. All this time we've been talking, and I didn't even have the chat box flying up the side. For some reason, the chat box isn't working. What's happened there? That's pretty weird. I'll try and add another one just to make sure it's working for tomorrow. It was working fine yesterday, right? Pretty sure. Yeah, there it goes. Look. Dang. Oh, that's disappointing. Maybe I'll have to stay a bit longer now. I'm only joking, folks. I'm only joking. I'm not going to take up too much more of your time. But yeah, I think we're looking pretty cool here with the chat down the side. You know, we've got me over here on the left. I'm looking cool. No, Brassneck, thank you. Thank you. Sidvich, thank you for being here for the stream, liking and sharing it on Twitter. I want to thank everyone out there. I want to remind people, if you want to join us on Discord, it's the place where we can hang out 24/7. I might not be there all of the time, but somebody will be there. No need to feel alone in this world where people are becoming more and more disconnected. And if this chat room is anything to go by, I think this disco, as we call it in techno lingo, you know, disco server is going to be the bomb. It's going to be awesome. It's going to be a place where we can talk freely about sheep and where men can be men. So Queen Goddess said, love today's show. Thank you so much, Jordan. Great show. Love what you did, or love what you do, sorry. Honestly, very humbling indeed, folks. Very. I'm just happy to be here for you. It makes my day that anyone shows up. Always welcome, my brother, says Sailor Spirit. I'm going to be bored for a while now, says Michelle Miller. Where are you, Michelle? If you're in Glasgow, we'll go and get a drink. I'm only joking. I'm only joking. No, I'm going to be bored as well now. Do I stay on for a bit? No. I might be back later on. I think I might take a night off tonight, to be honest with you. Although I don't know yet. Because Joe Joseph has been sending me lots of good stories. Maybe we will go live tonight. Who knows? So Michelle says, Kristen, go to Discord. It looks like everyone is going to be leaving here, having their last drink of the day, and then heading over to Discord, right? Maybe I'll see people in Discord. Who knows? And hopefully by tomorrow, this pesky cough is going to be away. It just doesn't seem to want to go. And Nanny Granny says, you're awesome and it's always a pleasure to be here. No, the pleasure is all mine. If you are there, we will listen, Kev. No, see, that's starting to get kind of cultish. I'm only joking, David. I'm only joking, dude. First time in chat. Thank you for the great show, Kev. You're a living legend. Wow. Jane Doe, thank you. Great show as always. Okay, it's hit that Discord and beer. Oh, Sid, doesn't that sound perfect, man? One of these days, I think there's even camera functions in Discord. We could literally, you know, how about this one weekend, right? I was thinking about this. Maybe one weekend we could just come on a stream and I'll have some whiskey here, maybe. And I'll shamelessly, if people want to give £1 to the super chat, I'll take a shot. We can play drinking games. How's that sound? Maybe. I'm never going to get any more big guests coming on my show if I keep being myself on the stream. You do realise this, right? I work so hard at nights to build up a new audience, you know, through the professional stuff. And then every day when I get up and do this, you know, these new people that have just been exposed to the Kev Baker show, they come here and they think, whoa, who the hell's this guy? This guy's crazy. He's off his head. So, point being, I don't think we're ever going to like blow up in the world of YouTube or Radio Land. But who cares? Who cares? Because we're here. I would rather have 100 quality people than 100,000 people that are just hangers-on. I really do mean that. So, Roxy, what's your topic today, Kev? Well, that's the thing. That is the thing, because on today's Kev Baker show, I don't have a guest. I'm absolutely shattered. As you can hear, I'm still dealing with the tail end of this cold. And right now, I'm in two minds whether just to go back to bed and sleep it off, or you know me, I can't get enough of you people out there. I may well go live. So keep an eye on social media. Michelle Miller, can you add me to your Discord, please? Did you, all right, if you're emailing now, yeah, I'll get this as soon as I come off here, okay? I'll open up the Proton mail as we speak. I've already got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 people have emailed me in there. I'll go and answer them now. I'll be back definitely tomorrow, hopefully tonight on the Kev Baker show. And on Thursday, I've got Charlie Robinson coming on the Kev Baker Show for our That Day in September special broadcast. I'm going to have to love you and leave yous. Remember, don't be looking for the change when you are the change. Keep your mind open, question everything. But don't let your brain turn to black goo and let it pour out the side of your ear. Until tomorrow, folks. Love you and leave you. And yes, Kristen, I'm taking your advice. Night off tonight. Later, folks.